because of this complexity and ambiguity, it marks and reinforces group boundaries. So humor is a very strong way of understanding. If you can understand that what I'm saying this is joking, it means that you are like me, that we see the world in the same way. And it also means that we are sort of together, feel not only like a tiny conspiracy, but also slightly better than many of the others. So it marks and reinforces group boundaries, and it does so in a way that is complicated because it's at the same time subtle. So it's very difficult to point out why it is so painful that people joke and you're not in on the joke. But it's also very strong because of the very strong sense of togetherness.
And then what happens is they muddle about life, trying to learn how to use these powers and get on with them, and they make mistakes, and they fix them, and they try again, and eventually they become superheroes. There is no superhero school, and there is no comedy school either. There is no comedy school. There are there are art schools and there are drama schools, and art schools teach you the beauty of painting and physical and visual arts, and drama schools teach you how to perform and how to be in theater plays and playwright and dance and sing and use music, but none of them teach you comedy. None of them teach you, in particular, stand-up comedy. Like superheroes, us comedians have to find out how to do it the hard way.
If you do not know the person, if you do not have that rapport with that person, then it's not a joke. Then it's a throwaway comment that you hope the person shrugs off and goes, "You're my boss." Or, "I don't know the language." "Why are you eating peanut butter with a credit card?"
So the thing is, culture is taught. Culture is something we hold on to. It's our source of reference. And from the age of 7, our own culture feels safe and familiar. And when an outsider asks us why we do what we do, we usually respond by saying, well, that's how we've always been doing it. While actually we should say, that's the way we've been taught.
And I have to say, as an American, I feel like the Dutch approach to service is genius, okay? I know that you get a lot of grief for it, but I love it so much. I think it's brilliant, because in America, when you work in service, you live on tips. So your relationship with your customers is super unhealthy. So like if I was serving like you in America, this is how it would go, okay? You would come in and I would be like, "Hi, how are you doing? Are you doing really good? You having like a really good night? Okay. I have a fun fact for you. I'm gonna be your server tonight." Woo! I know. I know, it's exciting. It's hard to get over. Okay, so tell me a little bit about you. Are you two here together? You're here together? Okay, so is it like a special occasion, or is it just a regular Friday? It's just a regular one? Good for you. Ugh, I love you already. Okay. So now, what else do you want? Do you want like French fries? Do you want a soda? Do you want me to dance for you? Do you want to hit me with your car? Because that's on the table tonight if necessary, okay? Whereas in the Netherlands, as a server, you can walk up to a table like, "Hey, what's up, motherfuckers? These are the menus. Now listen to me. We both know I don't need you. So why don't you tell me what you want? And I'll spend tonight deciding if I want to bring it to you." I love it. I think it's incredible.
I would say that, again, if I was in your shoes, I would try and understand my own feelings about things. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't mean, just because I've said, yeah, we should allow the artist the chance to do the art, it doesn't mean you can't critique it, like we talked about earlier. If you feel a certain way, you should talk about it. Whether it's with the comedian, whether it's with the organizer, whether it's with, and that goes for whether you're in a school setting, whether you're in a professional. Maybe if you can, wait until the end of the set, if possible. But like, I do believe, this is what my whole talk was about on Thursday, is that the idea of starting a conversation. If you feel insulted, you shouldn't have to feel like you have to go home and not say anything. At the end of the day, as comedians, we have, like I said, we have no school to go to. The only way we can test if something is funny is to try it in front of an audience and see their reaction. Thereby, we make mistakes. And most of us, I think, we see the worth of a comedian by how they respond to having made those mistakes. If we own up to it, if we accept it, if we try to improve it, then we are doing our jobs as artists to try and be better, to improve.
Because what happens with social media is that so many forms of humor were relying on the fact that there is, small groups where you're with a specific group of friends where you can share a number of transgressive jokes because it's among your circle of friends. So many of the jokes, for instance, that we collected about ethnic minorities in the Netherlands, everybody knew that these jokes couldn't be told in public spheres, but you will tell them with your friends in the football canteen or with your colleagues or in a bar or in a family gathering. So you can tell many jokes that you can tell them in a private sphere, but not in a public sphere. But what social media does is collapse all these contexts. So you can tell a joke, what you think would be a very nice joke for your friends, but then it's Facebook and your colleagues will be there and your boss and your grandmother and your aunt that you haven't seen forever. So context, and so the private public distinction that is really important for maintaining this sort of tiny conspiracy feel is also collapsing.
Awareness. Well, how can you create cultural awareness? Well, first of all, by interaction with others. As long as you stay in your own bubble, you will never create cultural awareness. For my books, I interviewed for 6 years entrepreneurs and managers from 30 different countries. And I all asked them the same questions. What do you think about the Dutch? What's your experience with working in the Netherlands and living in the Netherlands and being an entrepreneur in the Netherlands? And I asked them, what are the differences between the Netherlands and your home country? And when I started the interviews, I thought I was going to learn a lot about their cultures. And I did. But I even learned much more about my own culture. Because all these norms and values and traditions and habits I grew up with, which I had considering as normal so far, seemed to have a different meaning for all these people I interviewed. They learned me how to look at my culture and the rest of the world through different cultural glasses.
Yeah, Iselinde Kuipers. Well, she showed beautifully how indeed humor can be really used to make people sort of group together and to exclude others. And it's really like the tongue in cheek. We know what we're talking about, but they don't. And even if you're not racist at all, it is a way to exclude people and to include and to sort of reaffirm the boundaries of a particular group or identity or whatever. So it woke in that way, yeah. And again, it may be a bit boring for the audience, but it's indeed going both ways. So sometimes making very harsh jokes about somebody else who you know, who is a friend of you, and you know you can do it, and the audience is a bit shocked by it, can be really sort of helping to break the ice, and everybody knows we can just chat here, we have a discussion. And the very same joke can really help to marginalize people.
And I want you to know that I can't make you feel a certain way about a piece of stand-up comedy, but you should, and you should have all the right in the world to feel a certain way about a piece of comedy. If we didn't make you feel anything, then we're doing our jobs wrong. But what I will put to you is, I'll put to you this idea. Sometimes we are genuinely offended, but other times, are we really offended, or are we just scared and afraid to hear something that maybe needs to be said? Because at the end of the day, comedy is art. And that was me.